Okay, let's take a look at this bank reconciliation problem. Now, the problem appears on the left part of your screen, and we'll work the solution on the right part. So they give us this information for Sunset Valley Hotel. Okay, we've got a bank statement that was just received. July 31st, 2014 is the date of the bank statement. And there's some information there, like the beginning balance, the deposits, total checks, and then there are checks that the bank knows about that have cleared. There's also a debit memo and a credit memo. That's what DM and CM stand for, and the dollar amounts for those. And then we also have a list of checks and deposit that were recorded on the books. Okay, so there's all our checks on the left side and deposits on the right side. And there's 6 other pieces of information for us. They tell us that one check was outstanding. The credit memo was for a collection of a notes receivable. All checks were paid at the correct amount. The debit memo was for printed checks. And the June 30th bank reconciliation showed a deposit in transit of $1,130. So that's from the month before. And the unadjusted cash balance at July 31st, the cash account balance was $13,203. Okay. So the first thing you should do is start off and list the unadjusted bank balance and the unadjusted book balance. And I've done that on the right side that you see here. Now the next step is to leave yourself room for what you're going to add to the bank's balance, what you're going to subtract to the bank balance. So I've added the words add and less here. And then you're going to do the same thing for the book balance. And in both cases, we're going to work ourselves to a corrected balance. Okay? And the rule that we use is we have to ask ourselves, what do we know about that the bank doesn't yet know about? And if that's the case, we're going to adjust the bank side. That's in here. If instead we find that the bank statement had information that the bank knew about that we didn't yet know about or we've just learned about and hasn't been recorded, then that information goes down here. Okay, so what we do next is we go through the information, figure out where we need to make our adjustments. So they tell us check number 2350 was outstanding from June. And I'm going to go through these items first. Then we'll see if there's anything else we need to take care of. Check 2350 was outstanding from the month before. Now we don't have to do anything with that. It was outstanding from the month before. It was reflected on this schedule when we prepared the bank reconciliation last month. But at this point, it's cleared, which means the bank knew about it. We've already got it recorded in our books, so there's nothing to adjust here. Let's look at number 2. The credit memo was for a collection of a notes receivable. Okay, so what this is telling us is the bank acted on our behalf, and they collected a notes receivable of $3,085, which means they've already reflected it in their balance, but we haven't. They've collected it on our behalf, so we have to increase our balance. So if I remove this, or let's see, show it, we'll see there's our $3,085 increasing our balance. Okay, item 3 says all checks were paid at the correct amount. That's telling us that there was no bank error that we need to adjust for, or there was no difference that perhaps we made an error in the check amount. So I don't think there's anything we have to do there. Number 4 says the debit memo was for printed checks. Okay, so what that's telling us is we purchased printed checks from the bank. They charged us $50 for it. We haven't yet recorded that on our books. So the bank knew about it, we didn't. That means the adjustment goes down here. It's a reduction, so we reduce that by $50. Now at this point, we can put in some subtotals. Okay, what's next? The June 30th bank reconciliation showed a deposit in transit of $1,130. Okay, well, last month's deposit of $1,130 should be already taken care of for this month on both sides. We already had it recorded. Last month, it probably appeared as an addition to the bank reconciliation side, right? It would have been one of the items that appears up here for last month. But at this point, the bank knows about it. It was included in the deposit. You see it right there, so they know about it. Therefore, we're in sync. We have it recorded. They're aware of it. There's nothing to adjust for that one. Number 6, the unadjusted cash account balance was $13,203. Well, we already had that recorded there. Okay, so at this point we've taken care of the other information. Now we need to look for outstanding checks and outstanding deposits. So if we look here, we see that our last deposit was made on July 30th for $3,580. Their list of deposits goes to 2117, but it doesn't have the 3,580. Now the rest of these probably match. Yeah, 4964, 6202, 5998. We dealt with the outstanding from last month, but that 3,580 must be in transit. So we need to show that as a deposit in transit here. Now at that point, that's the only item we have in deposit, so we can put in together the subtotals that we need. Okay, so next we're going to look for additional items, and the additional items that come to mind would be any outstanding checks. So what checks are out here that we've written that they don't know about? We've got, let's take a look here. Okay, the 6215 appears, so they're aware of that. The 775 does not. That's an outstanding check. 1438 appears in both places. 2931. It looks like the 1533 also is outstanding. 8031 matches, and this one matches. So we've got a couple outstanding checks. So let me remove that. Yeah, the 2 outstanding checks. And at this point, we've accounted for everything. Okay, so if I move this down, if we work through the math now, the unadjusted balance, add the deposit and transit, come up with a subtotal, subtract the total of the outstanding, and you come up with a true cash balance. I tend to call this the adjusted balance per bank. And then we should be able to see the exact same thing on our side. And you pretty much know you're correct when the two numbers will equal. Now, the only thing left to do is make entries to your books for anything on your side. So, this credit memo would require an adjustment, and so would this debit memo. But all the adjustments up here you've already got recorded on your books. Okay, now I've placed part B of this problem on the screen you see here, which just asks us, tell us how these various other items impacted the cash account. And hopefully you'll know that check number 2350, which was outstanding, has no effect because at this point we both know about it. That's also the case with last month's deposit in transit, and the same thing for number 6, right? They're just telling us what the unadjusted cash balance is. So those 3 are not affected. What about number 3? All checks were paid at the correct amount. We didn't have to do anything there, so that's also not affected. But the credit memo meant it increased cash. We need to record that. And the debit memo reduced cash. Okay, that's this problem, everyone. I hope you found this helpful.